bit concerned about Barbara. I went to see her this morning, and she told me she had been hearing voices and was wandering around the neighborhood last night with no coat, no boots or hat. It was only like 30 degrees last night, so I'm really concerned about her safety. She's been refusing to take her medications, and she won't go to the hospital. So I'm not sure what I should do next.
I mean, I would definitely say it's very concerning because her safety is certainly at risk if she's walking around outside in the winter time with not the appropriate clothes on.
Yeah. And she, I've talked to her about going to the hospital and she refuses to go. I'm not sure how to get her the help that she needs.
So what do you think is the ethical issue going on here?
She's putting herself in harm's way. And I feel like I need to do something to address her mental health and her physical safety.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And she's refusing the help. So giving her mental health status, I don't know if this is something where you can, talk about involuntary hospitalization or what, would be the next step. I thought about maybe contacting a family member.
Yeah.
And seeing if they can help first, share my concerns and see what their input would be and how they could help first.
Yeah, that would definitely be something I feel like I would want to suggest as well, is if she has any supports or if she lives with anyone who's able to help
kind
her.
of talk her through it, or kind of like, you're right, help her with kind of this situation.
Because even if going to the hospital or seeing a physician was the next step you would give her, if she had a family member who's kind of able to be there with her, so she wasn't having to do it alone, I'm sure would be really beneficial. Because it sounds like maybe she's nervous or perhaps she's had a bad experience.
Yeah.
So maybe she's fearful of having to go back. But I would say it definitely sounds like there's something going on if she's wandering out.
Yeah. Well, she's been on medication, but she doesn't like the side effects. So I think that's one reason why she's refusing to go back and to take the medication she does have. But I know she mentioned a sister. So maybe I can contact the sister and talk to her and see if she'd be willing to accompany her, if she is open to going back to the hospital to see somebody.
Yeah, I feel like the fact that she's even willing to be meeting with you is a really good first step.
And kind of how she's open with you and able to kind of tell you like her concerns as well too. I definitely think she's open to getting like some help with this.
Yeah. What are the values of the client system? Just going down our questions we want to.
Yeah.
Hey y'all, not to interrupt, can y'all see me and hear me? I had problems with my computer.
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Okay. Let's see. I'm on my phone. I'm trying to log on. It just one of them days.
I clicked, I'm on my computer and it had stop video, which I had to unclick. So I was able to have my video work. So I don't know if that helps at all.
Oh. Can y'all see me now?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm just going to use my phone then.
Okay.
Sorry I'm late.
No, that's okay. We're all kind of having a couple issues.
Okay. All right. Sorry to cut you off.
So yeah, was there any values of your client you felt were important?
Well, I feel like she should be taking her medication, but she obviously she doesn't feel the same way.
Yeah.
For societal values, I think society would kind of say the same thing, that she should be on medication, but she has that right to choose,
Yeah.
whether she wants to be or not.
Right.
And then if she doesn't, then where do we go from there? Because she's not stable and she's putting herself at risk of harm. And who knows what, I don't know if she would do anything to somebody else, particularly if she's hearing voices and,
Yeah. Yeah.
So in terms of my own values,
Yeah.
it does conflict, because I think she should be on her medications. But again, those are mine and not hers.
Right. What strategy would you use to resolve this situation? It seems like you've kind of been talking about multiple ways of trying to resolve
Yeah.
that. I mean, it sounds like she probably needs to build some trust and rapport with people to be able to get to the point where she'll feel medication is valuable to her.
Yeah.
And I mean, to go to the hospital, I think by reaching out to her sister, it'll probably be helpful to both you and her to have that connection and that support for her.
Yeah, I agree. And giving her some options. If she has something to choose, maybe she'd feel a little bit more in control instead of feeling like she's maybe being told to do something.
Right.
If she had a couple choices, she can decide which way she'd like to go, and then hopefully we'd be able to get her the help that she needs.
Yeah.
So I think the next step then we kind of agreed on, I would contact her family.
Yep.
Her sister first, and talk with her, and then see what options are available for her to see somebody and talk about what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Would be great next steps.
Okay.
I'm happy to go next for mine.
Okay.
So for mine, I'm currently working with a teenage client, and she recently reported to me that she was having sex with her boyfriend when her parents were not home. She asked me not to tell her parents and stated that if I did, she would ultimately feel betrayed by me. So I think this one can be tricky depending on a social worker's personal values and beliefs. So in terms of what they feel is imminent risk or not. And I feel like I've dealt with this before because I've worked with a lot of youth and they'll tell me things like this.
Yeah.
So I personally, kind of looking back into the code of ethics, my personal belief is she's not in imminent risk of herself or anybody else. It's certainly a situation where it would definitely be tricky for me because I would want to tell the parents so they were aware. But I feel like I would definitely want to just work with her in terms of being safe with her boyfriend, talking her through that, talking about their relationship with one another, certainly making sure that she's in a healthy and safe relationship. I think there are a lot of components to that, which of course not marriage, they're not very detailed. So going off of, sorry.
Like you said, as long as she's not in imminent risk, when you're first dealing with something like that, inform her that, if I feel that you are putting yourself in danger or maybe putting somebody else in danger, then I will have to tell your parents. That way, you build that trust with them.
Absolutely. And I put that kind of when I was going through my questions, I looked through the code of ethics, and I think definitely with youth, it's really important to start talking about that from the beginning. because there's definitely going to be a lot of situations where we may end up thinking that they're putting themselves in danger and they don't realize it, and we're going to have to tell their parents or their guardians or whoever's watching them. And I certainly would never want to make my client feel like they couldn't trust me in what I'm telling them. So, Jackie, I think you're definitely right in terms of kind of talking with them about that from the beginning.
I agree. I don't think she's an imminent risk. As a mom, of course, I would want to know if my kid was, but I also, being at that kid's end at one point, you wouldn't want your parents to know. But I would imagine that mom may be aware if her daughter is, in a relationship, that hopefully they would have talked about some of these things, but maybe not, maybe they don't have that kind of relationship. So I would agree with you in terms of educating her and talking about safe sex, and maybe connecting her with a clinic or something where she could get regular checkups or birth control or things like that, if that's something that she's interested in.
Yeah, and I think that it's a conversation to have if she's maybe open to having that conversation with mom. It's something I could potentially facilitate, because obviously those can be very uncomfortable situations to have with a parent.
Yeah.
A relationship. So it's something I could talk about now, knowing that she's having sex with her boyfriend, talking about safety if she's has availability to condoms or birth control. Or if she ever felt like she was in an unsafe situation, if she felt comfortable talking to her parents, or if she has somebody she can reach out to. But certainly in this situation, I didn't really see that there's an ethical issue. I just personally don't feel that I would need to get confidentiality and tell her parents in this situation.
Yeah.
She definitely has very strong values in terms of trust, as I think most youth do. It's already difficult enough, I think, for them to open up to adults or clinicians. So I would definitely want to make sure she feels safe in talking to me. For me, I don't really feel like there's any conflict with my values. I mean, again, certainly I would want to be able to tell the parent and make sure the youth I'm working with is as safe as possible, but that's something I'm going to have to just work with the teenager about. So yeah, my strategy and what I would do is really kind of just work with my teenager around being safe and making sure that they're in a healthy relationship. And if they're not, kind of guiding them in terms of different ways that they could reach out to somebody if they felt like they were in a unsafe situation. You guys have any other advice in terms of what you would do?
I mean, just kind of like what you guys said too. I don't think it's a real imminent risk currently. And I think it was great, providing and linking her to other kind of condoms and clinics and stuff like that. I really like that idea.
Okay. All right, thanks guys.
I could go next if you guys want me to. So I'm working with a family that is currently linked to a preservation program. And in the home, so the teenage daughter kind of is getting violent with mom. During one of the altercations, the mother actually hit the daughter in self-defense, presumably, and she left a mark on the daughter. So kind of the ethical situation here, it's kind of working with both the family and the child and the mother. It's kind of hard because in this situation, you might, whether they're open with a DCPMP, Division of Child Permanency and all that, having to report that and kind of go through that process. And then that kind of hurts your rapport as well too, but making sure that, this child is safe and, presumptively was self-defense that this kind of occurred.
This one I really struggled with. Going back and forth between well, the child shouldn't be abusive to the mom, but of course, mom can't be abusive to the child either. And like you said, was it self-defense? Was it not? And
Yeah.
they're a bit vague, so you can kind of take it anywhere.
Yeah.
And
I think kind of assessing too, like, has this occurred more than once? Like, is this the first time that she's kind of laid hands on the child? I'm assuming that the child, this is often that she's getting violent, but how does she kind of handle these situations?
Yeah.
I think that's something that I would want to kind of know more about too. What are kind of her skills to kind of de-escalate the situation? And if kind of putting her hands on the daughter is something that kind of occurs, maybe then, having to report it to the correct authorities is the way to definitely go, which is
right.
tough.
It is.
Yeah.
But if you did, then what would the pros and cons be of that? Like
Which
maybe additional services would be put in place that would be helpful.
Yeah.
But again, maybe not. Maybe there'd be a different outcome and she'd be removed or something,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I think,
it's a
like we
hard
talked
one.
about earlier, definitely, as long as you've been upfront with your client in terms of when you would have to break confidentiality or talk to somebody, this would kind of fall right in line. So it's gotten to the point where now the mother's put hands on her. And I could see in a lot of situations where a teenager would say it's not a big deal. But obviously, because of our profession and our code of ethics, we would have to report that if we felt like it was serious. So I think there's always the downside of if you have to call someone in that capacity, like a child protective service, you're definitely going to have some issues with your relationship. But essentially, we have to do our job and make sure that
Right.
our children are safe.
Yeah.
Well, and I think when you do report something, so say in the situation you call to report, to explain that to the mother and daughter that this is what's happening, this is what I need to do, and this is how things are going to play out, and so that they're aware that you're communicating openly with them. So I think maybe the relationship isn't quite as destroyed as maybe it could be, and then going from there. So
and letting them know you hope that they're going to be getting support out of this,
Yeah,
and maybe additional services that you wouldn't be able to provide. Hopefully that would help.
Definitely.
And if you do report it, just let them know, because of you are in one of those professions where, you have to report, because of the fact she has a bruise on, you have to report it because of the fact of your job. And just let them know up front, it's not out of because, you hit her, it's because, as a social worker or, any of the medical professions, you have to report any signs of abuse.
Yeah. Well, like you said, Sarah, I think, in the beginning of a relationship, that should all be explained that you're a mandated reporter, so they know that if something like that were to happen, that you likely will need to report it.
Yeah.
So it's not a surprise to them, hopefully.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And for the client system values, they clearly want to keep the mom and daughter together. That's something that they would really want. But I think you're right, being upfront with them in the beginning about being a mandated reporter as well as having to report it, letting them know that this is kind of something we have to do because of this for safety reasons, and kind of explaining that, maybe they can link to more support and different kind of programs as well. So not kind of trying to paint it as such a negative thing as well too.
Yeah.
For the mother, she would probably have the most difficulty because it would essentially come down on her. But letting her know that hopefully this is going to help support her daughter so it can work towards them having a better relationship. Because I'm sure the mom, she could be fearful in the home if she has an aggressive daughter. So even though this should help the daughter, hopefully it'll kind of help their relationship. Hopefully that would also help in terms of your relationship with them, that you're really just hoping for the best for both of them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think so regarding like conflict with my values, I don't think it really comes in conflict. You know, unfortunately, we're always taught to follow the code of ethics, and we are mandated reporters. So I think this kind of falls in kind of my values, I guess, that, you know, keeping the family safe. So I don't think I have any conflicts with it. And then strategies to use, and like what I would do. I definitely think, again, like you guys said, upfront being about a mandated reporter and kind of being open with them about having to report it. And then I think as well, kind of going through that process, maybe providing them some kind of tips and tools, how to kind of de-escalate the situation without kind of using violence, and even maybe providing the daughter some ways without getting physically aggressive to kind of cope with maybe some of her angers and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, y'all ready for me? Okay. I picked L. One of your adolescent clients invites you to his graduation and family party. The only ethical issue I can see is actually going to the party, because, you know, you don't really want to interact with your clients in that way. But I would go to the graduation to support him, you know, to have that positive support, you know. And what are the values in the client system? I guess the to promote self-determination, because that was one of his goals. Well, it didn't say her. One of his goals to graduate, whatever program that person was in. So that was the values of the client system. And as far as conflict with my values, it's not really a conflict with my values. Going to party with him, I wouldn't do that. There's nothing really to resolve the situation, but what would I do? Like I said, I would go to the graduation, but, you know, I would explain to the family, you know, this is y'all time, you know, y'all don't need you there. So, you know, you go and enjoy yourself and, you know, congratulate him. But I would, you know, like I said, I would go to the graduation to support him.
Yeah.
And, you know, just be that familiar face. Hey, you know, I'm proud of you. So that one pretty much was pretty simple. So
I agreed with you on that, and I at that one I would do the same. I feel like this should be a situation where it's important to kind of acknowledge and celebrate your client and this huge step in graduating, and maybe just talking to them in regards to the family party that could potentially be an issue with boundaries, but that you're definitely happy that they had invited you. So yeah, I definitely agreed with you, Jackie, in terms of that scenario.
I would do that as well, I think. I liked the part that you pointed out that you would go to the graduation, because I didn't even think of that. I was kind of like, oh no, I can't do either. Not really thinking that the graduation is more of a, you know, a public ceremony. So
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah.
So I like that. I think I would agree with going to the graduation, and then the family party just saying, you know, thank you for the invitation. I'm sorry I can't attend, you know, but I look forward to hearing about it, and maybe scheduling an appointment with, you know, your client as a follow-up to touch base after and see how it went, so he or she can kind of share their experience about the party with you.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know,
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of that too. And I didn't think about going to the graduation either, like as a public event. So that, I definitely think that was a good thing. But you're right, to support he or she. But yeah, definitely kind of letting them know that that's kind of something more intimate, the family party, that, you know, should be just with the family. But you're right, maybe we can kind of talk about it at a later time during a session.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. 'Cause, yeah, I agree with you on that, and I will, that one I would do the same. I feel like this should be a situation where it's important to kind of acknowledge and celebrate your client and this huge step in graduating, and maybe just talking to them in regards to the family party that, you know, should be just with the family. All right, nice job, everyone.
That was quick.
I'm gonna, I've recorded the whole thing, so hopefully I will have no issues with uploading it. Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about before I end it?
I don't think so.
I think so.
Except
Okay.
thanks for being in charge, so maybe. So Sarah's in charge of our next role plays that we have to do.
So what I'll do is I'll stop the recording and see what I can do. If it's easy, I'll just shoot you guys an email just to let you know
Okay,
that I was able to get the recording and everything went well.
okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Guys.
Yeah,
right.
thanks, guys.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.